Hello, everyone. Wow. So, Alyssa and I are back trying this for the second time here on a Saturday. We are talking about the tribe swap of Survivor Season 33, Millennials versus Gen X. And crazy, fun stuff happened this past week. Me and a guy from the dorm, we watched this episode at Adam Klein's Survivor Watch Party. So, super, super cool. So, my name is Rachel.
And I'm Alyssa, and some of you may be experiencing a serious sense of deja vu right now. You're probably like, wait, I think I already watched this episode. Except for some reason, the sound on this was not working after we uploaded it to YouTube. So we're kind of trying to figure that out because we don't know why that happened. But one of Rachel's friends is watching it, is going to watch it as soon as we post it so that we can make sure that we don't have any technical difficulties again. But we figured that there's no point in having a podcast hear us since we don't think that you guys are that great at reading our lips. So
yeah, sort of a bummer because I thought we had some good content yesterday. We talked for like 40 minutes, so I guess we'll just go through this past episode and talk about it all over again.
Yay! So we're going to start by going back to after Tribal Council. David made a move wherein he played an idol to save Jessica, which has possibilities as both a good move and a bad move. So talk about why it was a bad move.
I mean, yeah, David even says it himself. He's like, he saved someone nobody really wants to work with, which I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think at the time, David can't really tell if it'll be like a good move in the long run because long run, I think maybe good move because now Ken has Jessica on his tribe. You know, they can work together. And if like Lucy were the one with Ken, you know, that could have caused some more problems. But maybe a bad move at the time because you know, he couldn't have predicted he would find the idol the next frickin' day. And so, like, technically, I feel like, I don't know, he sort of used the idol for something, like, played it for someone that I feel like he wasn't that close with, but Ken was maybe closer to her than he was.
Yeah. And so since Ken was close to her, it was kind of a good move because he's keeping one of his main allies happy. And it's also a good move because it's a resume builder. But other than that, I feel like there were a lot of reasons why Dave shouldn't have. He did, and we can't really help that. But then since Dave played the idol, and everyone knew he played the idol, there was a mass idol search.
Yeah, so before that, though, Jessica, we see her telling Ken about the advantage, which was like, sort of like, because, I mean, she's basically saying if I'm here on day 36, or, you know, I get an advantage in the game, you know, I don't know what it is, but if I'm here day 36, I will get an advantage. And then she's like to Ken, if I get voted out before day 36, I will give this, like, legacy advantage to you, Ken. And I feel like with this kind of advantage, there's no point in really telling other people. Just paint a target on your back. And Alyssa and I were talking about this yesterday. We were basically like, if we were someone like Ken, we would try to get Jessica out like day 32, 33.
Yeah, and then you can just blindside her, and if she doesn't know that you're the ones who voted for her, then she would still give you her advantage, and you would have her out of the game, and you would have an extra advantage, and you'd also have something that you could use at Tribal Council, at Final Tribal Council, which would be dubious commentary about your morality, but it would still work out where you got a legacy advantage. Yay! So
yeah, so basically if Ken like flipped people on the tribe after the merge to try to vote Jessica out at day 32, 33, and then so they would vote Jessica, but Jessica and Ken would still vote like whoever they wanted to vote because they're technically still together, and then, you know, Ken wouldn't backstab his alliance in Jessica per se, but then he would still get the legacy advantage. And I feel like with a hidden immunity idol, like you could tell people and gain trust with the other people, but with something like this, makes more reason for someone to vote you out. Like,
yeah,
you don't need to tell people.
You don't know what the advantage is, so you don't know whether it's going to benefit you or you and an ally, or So it's like you don't have as much information on it, and you also don't have as much reason to tell people about it. So
Yeah, and like advantages in the past, we've seen like Fishback or Dan or someone just having that physical advantage. It paints a target on your back when people know you have it. So I think like producers sort of, if didn't know that they had the advantage of this, would paint a target on your back. But Ken could technically be a blabbermouth later and spill the beans.
yeah, so that would be interesting. Except for if he did spill the beans, that would be kind of interesting just because he'd have to twist the story a little bit. Since obviously if he told people it was a legacy advantage, they wouldn't want to vote her out because then they'd know that Ken would get the advantage.
Yeah, definitely. So like Alyssa mentioned, and we were saying, David did find another hidden immunity idol, which was like so crazy, like WTF, you play an idol for another person, pre-merge, pre-swap, and then the next freaking day you find another one, like hot damn.
The thing is, we talked about this yesterday too, how Dave has an advantage in finding the idol since he knows what to look for, since he's the only one that knows that whatever is holding the hidden immunity idol has the tribal symbol on it. And obviously looking for a purple whirly thing is a lot easier than just looking for a weird looking tree. And he also knows that the idol was hidden on the ground, which is also another advantage since a lot of times, like, idols will be hidden in strange shaped trees or something along those lines. So it's like, well, a lot of people were poking in tree branches and stuff. David knew to like be looking in the underbrush.
Yeah, definitely. David knows where to look for idols, like that they're hidden in sort of like everyday branches and stuff like that. So it's definitely an advantage. And right now, technically, Adam is the only one in the game that knows how the entire process of an idol is found. So like finding the little paper clue and then looking for the medallia on like the everyday object, which definitely it is an advantage because they know where to look, they know what it looks like. And I feel like finding a second idol is sort of like Kelly Wentworth or Jeremy from Second Chance, because they both found two idols because they knew how the idols were hidden that season that was like different in the past. So it's definitely something that works in their favor. So good for David. We see him trying to break open the log with a rock, which was another funny scene because he's just like such of the time, I feel like.
Yeah. But so Dave finds a second idol, which puts him in an interesting position later in this episode, but we're going to talk about that when it comes.
Yeah, so then next is the big thing of this episode. We have the tribe swap, and it was like a fake out challenge. So both of the two tribes walked out there, and then you just see like the two mats in the orange and purple, and then Jeff is like, drop your buffs. We're going from 3 tribes. I mean, I remembered my paper today, Alyssa. I've like done some math and stuff to figure out like the tribe dynamics of overall. I feel like tribe swap is random, and like Taylor, his like confessionals are just so sort of annoying. He's like, the tribe swap is random, you know, like no dip. They said it's random.
Like a non-random tribe swap would just not make sense. But the most disappointing thing about this tribe swap was the fact that Figgy and Taylor, or Figtails, gets to stay together. I was so upset about that. But then swapped from 2 tribes, Gen X and Millennials, to 3 tribes.
Yeah.
You call them orange, green, and purple because too late to try to learn tribe names.
Yeah, basically. And I feel like, I don't know, personally, I think I would have preferred Figgy and Taylor to be split up because I think it would have been interesting to see if they actually had like gameplay separately, because right now when they're together, they're just like freaking annoying and like too lovey-dovey for our taste of this showmance. So, I mean, I would have preferred that they been split up, but the chances the gods have brought them together once again. And I mean, overall, I feel like hopefully Green Tribe isn't too disadvantaged because they do do have to start from scratch, and you do see a lot of times in Survivor, like the tribes that do have to rebuild their stuff are oftentimes like weaker or something because they had to redo everything that everyone else has already had done.
Yeah, but the Green Tribe does have one extra member, so do you want to tell everyone who's on the Green discuss them?
Yeah, real quick, we'll go through orange, purple, and then green, but real quick before that, I think Michaela's face during this tribe swap was just like so funny, and I feel like Michaela definitely wears her emotions on her sleeve, which could be beneficial or detrimental to her gameplay.
Yeah, and I think we're going to talk a little bit more about Michaela later because she has a big role in part of building the Green Tribe. So
Yeah, so I mean, Orange Tribe, overall, I feel like this is the least athletic tribe out of the three. I feel like Michelle, Cece, maybe David were definitely tribe or like swap screwed with this tribe because, you know, Cece, technically, she and David were on the majority of the old Gen X tribe right after because they saved Jessica, so technically they had the advantage. So Cece could have lasted a few more episodes, but I feel like this was Cece's time to go, being voted out this episode. Like, she evaded the vote for so many times already, so I feel like it's her time to go.
yeah, and
I feel like you know,
she doesn't really have much to contribute. Like when I picked her for my fantasy team, I thought that she was going to be a lot more like puzzle oriented and a lot more like strategic. But it ended up being where she was kind of a flop as far as social game goes, and she also wasn't really that great at a physical game. So
yeah, definitely like Cece's time to go. I think it'll make the tribe somewhat stronger, even though this orange tribe is pretty much a hot mess right now. We see Zeke telling us that he has zero trust in Michelle, and then David is also like he doesn't trust Michelle. And I feel like Orange going to tribal council, the other tribes probably felt that Michelle would be the first one to go home off of this tribe because Michelle is a female and she is in the minority because it's 3 Gen X, 2 Millennials. So I feel like the other tribes, it'll be an interesting surprise to see like their facial reactions when Orange Tribe walks into the next challenge.
yeah, I think that it'll be interesting just because also I just think like what you said about her being in the minority as far as so
You know, yeah, and I don't know.
Another tribe's reaction to who got voted out though, just because I feel like if you're watching closely enough, you can use that information to your advantage.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. And I feel like next time, at least, if Orange Tribe were to go to Tribal Council, it'll be really interesting because we see Chris and Zeke hit it off with the whole Oklahoma, like we're both from the same kind of area. They seem to really, really hit it off. And we see like Chris reaching out to Zeke to try to vote out Cece. And then we also see Chris reaching out to David, so they could have a bond also. So it depends. Michelle could go home next time, depending if they go to tribal council. Or Chris and Zeke might like want to target David because he does seem like the weaker of the two, but then David could use that idol or something. Like, it would be super crazy, but I think it'll be really interesting, and we might see like David and Michelle work together and like idol out Chris or someone, but then that tribe will have some real problems in the challenges when they've got a Zeke, David, Michelle challenge force.
Yeah, so yeah.
But I don't know, this tribe I feel like will probably go to tribal council again unless something is to happen. They are the least athletic, and that's really a bummer because I really think Michelle has potential, and so does David.
Yeah, I feel like they all have potential gameplay wise, but it's like they would have done better if they had all been put onto different tribes. That way, like social strength would help at least outweigh their weakness, but you can't have physically weak but socially strong on one tribe because then diversity of roles.
Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully it's not like another Kagayan brain tribe or something, because that would be a bop.
Ooh,
So,
that,
moving on to purple, we have Ken and Jessica, and then Adam, and then Figgy and Taylor. And what like bad kind of swap for Adam, because now he's like the freaking third wheel of a love fest of Figgy and Taylor, which is like a good place for Adam because technically he's in the middle of Ken and Jessica and Figgy and Taylor, but then a bad place because it's like he cannot strategize with the millennials at all on this tribe because they are so connected, and like, are they even really playing the game?
yeah, and part of what we were talking about yesterday is how when you're with a couple, in an alliance with a couple, you're always going to be number 3. And it's like, you don't want to be number 3 in an alliance of 3 people.
Yeah, and even if like, I 100% think Adam should go with Ken and Jessica and vote out either Figgy and Taylor, but I don't think this will ever get the chance to happen because purple now will get to sit one person out in like the challenges, so that's a huge advantage because all of these 5 people I think can hold their own. They're all like physically strong, they can do puzzles, so I feel like purple tribe will not go to tribal council until like another tribe swap or the merge or something like that. So I don't see them going to tribal. And Adam does have the idol, which could make it interesting if they were to go to tribal council.
Yeah, but I feel like you said, unless they throw the challenge or they end up seriously screwing up, I don't think that to tribal council. And I don't see why they throw the challenge, just because even that tribe is smart enough to know that in the end that doesn't work out. Like, the only person who would really benefit from throwing a challenge is Adam, because he's the one who's kind of the deciding vote, and Adam is a Survivor super fan, so he would know that you don't throw challenges. It just, oh yeah, this is going to turn out well. The person whose idea it was to throw a challenge ends up getting voted off.
Yeah, and so also during this time we see like the "You're Hot" scene between Taylor and Figgy, and that was like so cringy. You just see like them
so uncomfortable.
Yeah, you see like them two flirting, and then you see Adam's like WTF straight face, like what the hell am I a part of? It was like sort of funny because of that, but it was just like, oh my god, like literally, is Taylor like actually playing the game? Like he's like the stronger one of the pair because like physically, but I feel like he's the dumber one, and like Figgy is the one actually somewhat thinking. She's like, no, Taylor, we can't be hugging because that'll paint a target on our backs. And then Taylor was like, ha ha. I was like, ah, please stop.
I feel like it's too little too late as being subtle about your relationship. Like, everyone already knows it. Come on.
Yeah, and I feel like something like that spreads by word of mouth. Like, people will probably talk, like, David played an immunity idol on Gen X Tribe before the swap. Like, people are probably talking about that. So the millennials can spread that kind of information to, like, the Gen X people, like Figgy and Taylor sort of have a thing going on. So, alas. But
Yeah.
the best thing about this tribe is we see Ken and Adam might work together, and I thought it was the cutest thing when Ken was like saying in a confessional, Adam is the nicest kid ever. I was like, like OTP, they need to work together.
Yeah, I really want Adam and Ken and Dave to work together, and that's, yeah.
Like 100%, I want to see this come to fruition. Yeah, so finally, the green tribe, it is Michaela, Hannah, Jay, Will of Millennials, and then Brett and Sunday of Gen X. So they have 6 people, and now they can sit 2 people out on every challenge because they've got a 2-person advantage. And I feel like with this tribe is pretty strong, and I feel like the Millennials seem pretty united. I feel like, I don't know, it would probably stick together. There's no reason for them to like fracture themselves to vote out another millennial, but I feel like it would be logical to take out Sunday and then Brett on this tribe.
Yeah, I feel like the millennials on that tribe have done like anything unforgivable to each other. Like they haven't stabbed each other in the back or anything. And considering that neither of the Gen Xers have proved themselves to be particularly useful, like Sunday pretty much is the reason they going to tribal council. So
Yeah, we were talking about it yesterday. The Oling, like, I feel like for tribal council, it would be between orange and green sometimes. And I feel like green could go to tribal council before a tribe swap or a merge or something. If maybe, you know, next time they want to, we were talking about it yesterday, but like throw the immunity challenge so that they could save Michelle because they want to stay millennial strong. So I feel like someone like Jay might bring this up and be like, guys, let's throw the challenge to try to save Michelle over there. And then, but I feel like Jay might have been sort of like maybe too bossy during the building the shelters, so maybe that could be like a foreshadowing to Jay going home in the near future, which is sort of a bummer because I do like Jay. He's very funny.
Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly with 100% of what you just said, and you're stealing everything that I said last time.
No, I said that last time. Okay, so.
Anyway.
Michaela making the fire, like this girl. She is on fire, what, figuratively, literally, like, I don't know, Michaela has been having...
literally on fire. You should know the meaning of the word literally.
She has been having some breakout episodes, Alyssa. She is breaking out.
Like, literally, though.
I feel like Michaela, like, definitely this season, it's like the least likely people you think would make fire have made fire. Like we've seen David make fire, we've seen Michaela now make fire, and I feel like you wouldn't suspect these people to actually be the ones making the fire on the tribe.
Yeah, also, like I said last time, it's kind of like, I feel like it's always the person who's least likely to make fire that ends up making it. Like we talked about Alyssa and Brains, Brawn, Beauty, and how she ended up making fire. And part of that might just be desperation to prove yourself. But I think also the Survivor, like, producers really like it when they can edit someone like that, because it's great to see someone who's kind of a bop go on to do something important like make fire.
Yeah, and I feel like Michaela is such an interesting character. Like, she says how she works so hard in her life. You know, she wasn't given everything in her life like certain people on Millennials might have, like, never been said no to in their life or something like that. And then we really see it, like, play out when we see her crying after she builds fire for the tribe. And it was, like, such a nice moment, you know, like, the entire tribe was so, like, down in the dumps. Then you see, like, gives her gives the whole tribe like a spark of hope that will get them further in the game, because you know fire does represent your life.
Yeah, and I feel like this yesterday, the things with Michaela really have an even keel, and I feel like in Survivor, while it's important to make yourself relatable and you can't be totally robot, it's also really important to like keep your emotions in check a little. And I feel like Michaela's just swinging so much, like being so pissed with the tribe merge, to being so happy she made fire, to crying because she's so happy and all of this stuff. And I feel like she needs to kind of smooth that out in order to make herself easier to, I don't know, just work on her poker face, I guess. Just because when Michaela doesn't like you, you know that, and I feel like that's going to end up screwing her over as she gets further in the game.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely something that might cause her downfall, because she is very, like, her heart is on her sleeve. Like, you know what she's thinking when she's thinking it. And I mean, yeah, I don't know. Michaela has such a nice backstory that, like, if she were in Final Tribal and she were to say something like that, it would warrant her $1 million. Which I guess it's sort of bad to say that, like, you need to have some kind of, like, backstory, but something like that, like Jeremy and his pregnant wife, you know, it can sway people.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you have two people who play the game equally well, and one of them has like a better backstory, they're probably going to end up winning. But like, I feel like if someone is with more success in the game. I feel like the backstory doesn't matter as much. So
Yeah. So moving on to the immunity challenge, like it was a cool ass water challenge, and being like a competitive swimmer throughout my life, I really like these kind of relay things. They seem super, super cool, and I would be so down to participate in one. And one of the biggest things, I was like, WTF? I was like, how do people on Survivor not freaking practice swimming before going on the show? Like, you're literally looking like you're about to drown and you need the medical team to come lift you out of the damn water. Like, how do you not know how to swim well?
part of it is I understand people who like might not be able to build a shelter or something, because it's not like you're gonna get a ton of practice with that, but it's like pools, they're like the most ubiquitous thing in America.
Yeah, like
It's like if you're gonna go on Survivor, you can spend the like however many dollars it is to get a 1-month membership at a swimming pool.
just get like some swim lessons. And I mean, Cece and David this episode, like WT be this hot of a mess during the immunity challenge. We see like Cece's trying to doggy paddle and she like moves so freaking slow, like 2 of the other people on a different tribe can like finish the whole entire thing before she does one of the laps. And then it was like Zeke is even like, is he trying to throw this? David, the freaking buoy flops off the other side of the platform and then he has to jump in again. I was like, how the hell are you like this bad?
Yeah, and I love that Zeke was like, is he throwing this? Because it's like that bad.
And I mean, if David were trying to throw it, it wouldn't be in Zeke or Michelle's favor because they would be like the one you would think would go home since they're the minority. But it's like, David, come on, dude. Like, we all like you. You're such a quirky dude. But, like, your performance and immunity challenges are just so, like, laughable.
And, like, immunity challenges are what helps you get courage, because it's like, if you don't have to go to tribal, good for you. But, like, once it's into individual immunity, I feel like immunity challenges become less important because it's like only one person can win. But, like, especially when there's 3 tribes and it's like 2/3 of the people don't go to tribal council, it's a little more important to do well on.
Yeah, that's why, I don't know, Orange Tribe is having a little bit of struggles. They definitely have some weak links on their tribe. And I don't even, like, they frickin' gave everyone goggles for this, too. Like, other times you might have to switch off goggles, so then that takes time, and some people don't dive in with goggles. But they literally gave everyone goggles with the nose thing so you can breathe underwater. Like, it doesn't, oh my God. It doesn't.
The other thing that I loved about this challenge was that it gave the people a choice between, like, to make the challenge slightly easier or, like, not taking time and then having a slightly harder challenge to do. Just because, to me, the answer always seems obvious, like, spend a little bit of extra time to make everything easier in the long run. But, like, I always like to see what the competitors are thinking in that moment, because, like, some of them might be like, oh, yeah, I can totally make a basket from that far, and then they realize they're wrong.
Yeah, I feel like producers
realize they're wrong.
Like producers and Jeff like really want to see this kind of decision making on the show more often now. Like we saw at the premiere episode, they had to choose things when they're running around, like to pick different objects. And then we saw it in like the first immunity challenge where like they could get a smaller puzzle or a larger puzzle, like if they took shortcuts. So I feel like this is like becoming a recurring theme in Survivor, where seeing how making choices affects like decision making in the game. And this is like why the game is just so good, honestly. Oh, so much like social aspects. I don't even know, like when trying to tell people what Survivor's about, it's sort of difficult because it's so good.
Yeah, I love Survivor. But so immunity challenge, it
Michaela.
Michaela, yes. Our challenge.
We see Michaela freaking like Michael Jordan, LOL, those baskets like 4 or 5 basically in a row, dunk that shiz, and like what the she is rocking it. I feel like she is becoming a challenge beast. We saw even like last episode, she did well in the reward challenge, taking off her swimsuit top. So I mean, this could try to paint a target on her back in the future, that people see that she's like so good at everything.
Yeah. So Michaela's really great. Orange team lost, and then they go to tribal.
So before tribal council, I think Chris is the MVP this episode. He is out for revenge against Cece and David because they screwed him over twice in the game so far. And like, kudos to Chris for not playing super emotionally, but like, Chris wants to talk to David. He is willing to work with David, and I feel like certain other people would not be willing to work with someone that screwed him over 2 times. They'd be like, F you, I want you out, because Chris technically could have had the majority if he just brought in Zeke and Michelle, but Chris wanted David to bring in to also all 4 of them could vote out Cece, and I think that was some smart thinking from Chris.
I think that is really smart, just because I feel like Chris also has to take some of the blame, and David threw him over twice because the whole fool me once, fool me twice thing. I feel like it was good of him, especially because we were talking earlier about how the Gen Xers seem to be playing a more emotional game. I think it was good that he was able to take a step back.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing a different side of Chris, because in the past I feel like we've seen Chris as a very brash, kind of violent guy. He's very strongly seen, and I feel like this episode we've seen a different side. Even though he is like, David, I'll choke you, but now we see that Chris is actually thinking on the island. He is thinking strategically. He is thinking in the long run, because Chris wants David, because he knows David has numbers on like other tribes that will help him when the merge time comes. So I was like, kudos to Chris. Like, good for you, dude.
Yeah, I think that it's been hard for me kind of to pin Chris down, just because I haven't really seen a lot of him, I feel like. But I feel like this episode helped me develop how I feel about him a lot more, so that was good.
Yeah, and so during this time, David is thinking about using his hidden immunity idol again to save Cece, which, LOL, I thought this would be super funny if David actually, like, did use it, because, you know,
I would just want to see if Chris would actually, like, choke him.
Basically,
like,
and
that's against the rules of Survivor.
I think it's like an interesting strategy for David. He is sort of like trying to save people with these idols who are in his alliance, so then he could like have the numbers and they would be loyal later, which is like different from the past, which is like people are just saving themselves with the idol to like last another vote. But I feel like it's smart of David to save the idol, because now he can at least last like 6 days in the game if he uses it like next time or the next time after that.
Yeah, and I feel like part of it is you don't want to like make it a pattern of like assuming that you're going to find another idol again, just because while he does have an advantage in idol finding, he is eventually going to run into a scenario where someone else finds the idol first, rely on continuing to find idols. So I think that it was smart for him to hold on this time.
Yeah, definitely. So some people have been giving Michelle some heat at Tribal Council and like before Tribal when she's talking with Cece, because of like her sort of brashness about I want David out. But I feel like at Tribal Council they were acting. So the 4 of them, they wanted to keep Cece as comfortable as possible so that they could blindside her. So like all the talk at Tribal was like Gen X strong, millennials are going home. Like then the millennials would say like, yo, we need to turn and get someone else out. So I feel like because they were all talking like this, and then in the end, even though Michelle verbally at Tribal was like, I'll vote David, they all 4 still voted Cece. So I feel like it was acting on their part, which is like, if it wasn't, then I don't know, but I feel like it was, because there's like no way they were all like that good.
Yeah, and like keeping your alliance members feeling safe even when they're not is a good thing, just because while it can heighten the feeling of betrayal, since we have seen like votes switch literally at Tribal, it does you well if you give them no reason to suspect that you're going to be voting them.
Yeah, so Cece gets voted out for 1, and I mean, I think it was her time to go. We've seen that she has evaded the vote for far too long, and I mean, I don't know. I won't miss that she's gone.
Yeah, neither will I, just because, like you said, it was her time to go.
Yeah, so next time on Survivor, what a great season so far. We've seen 4 blind sides, which is like just a test to the amount of gameplay we have been seeing this season. And so what like we were saying before, like the athletic prowess of the different tribes, I feel like Orange is definitely the most likely to go to tribal council based on their people, but I was thinking Green could try to throw the challenge if Jay or someone suggests it to try to save Michelle because they want to stay Millennials strong.
And I think also, since we saw that there was some medical issues going on next episode, that might affect things a little. Like if someone gets hurt and they end up getting evacuated, though I wouldn't think that anyone would be evacuated over something that you could do, unless they hit their head. But someone getting hurt could change the way tribal council goes, just because we've seen, like in previous seasons, that it's better to have like an uninspired, strong player than like an injured player who really wants to be there. Like in Heroes versus Villains, when James hurt his knee, he got voted out. So
Yeah, and so now I can do my maths that got cut off at the end of last episode. So I was
you go right ahead.
What? So right now there are 15 people, right? 6, 5, 4. Yeah, 15 people. And so based on precedent, no survivor has merged with 3 tribes so far. So this see a 3-tribe merge, but based off previous season, I was trying to think, I was that the tribes would merge or like tribe swap back into 2 tribes right before the merge. And so I was looking at past seasons, and then this season really relates to season 31, Second Chance. So based off Second Chance, that season merged back into 2 tribes 1 episode before the merge, and that's when Wu gets booted. And so that was at 14. It tribe swaps into 2 tribes, and then they merged at 13. So then there's a 10-person jury. So that is what I think is going to happen. So there will be 1 more tribal council before a tribe swap.
Yep.
If there's 15 people, yeah, 1 more. So they just have to last 1 more tribal. Then I feel like it'd be a 7-7 split at 14, and then the merge at 13 people. And I feel like producers want to see more different like connections between the castaways on the island. So I feel like when there are more tribe swaps, it does create more alliances and more like interesting tribe dynamics that the producers and Jeff want to see come merge time, because then there's so many different like pockets of like people who can work together or might not work together.
The like ability of people to feel betrayed, because they could be like, well, we were in an alliance back on this tribe, and it's like, well, the people on this tribe trump the people on this tribe as far as my loyalty goes. And like the more loyalty wise, like the more people that believe that you should be loyal to them, the more complicated things get. And then also at the final tribal council, sometimes it can be hard. It's like, if you were the first person voted off after the merge, you never really talked to either of the finalists before. It's like, how are you supposed to choose which one of them to give $1 million if you literally only spent 3 days with them? Whereas if you've been on tribes with them before, you can like suss out what kind of person they are, even if you didn't necessarily get to spend a lot of time with them on the merge tribe.
Yeah, so I think we are predicting that like, well, it'll be interesting to see if like we're reading into things correctly. So this was our 2.0 episode tribe swap. Wow.
Anyways, Next week, we're going to be podcasting on Friday again, barring any technical complications, since those always seem to happen. But we'd really like to hear what you guys have to say about the swap, about Michaela, about David's idols, and what you think is going to happen next time. So please leave everything down in the comments below. We love you for liking, commenting, subscribing, and we're really excited to see the next episode of Survivor.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye.